this week, I wrote to all the premiers important day in the national plan. Earlier this week, I wrote to all the premiers and chief ministers and asked them to advise me of where they are up to when it came to home quarantine, which would enable Australia to move to the next phase more broadly that would allow Australians to travel overseas and return if they are vaccinated, and to return vaccinated with no caps on their return. I'm very pleased that the New South Wales Government has advised, as you've learned today, that they'll be in a position to move to a no quarantine arrangement for people arriving back in Australia from the 1st of November, which enables us to be in a position to ensure that we can lift the caps for returning Australian citizens, residents and their families from the 1st of November into New South Wales. What this also means is that we will be allowing Australians, permanent residents and citizens and their families to leave Australia from wherever they live in Australia and return. But obviously the capped arrangements in other states will continue because of the vaccination levels in those places and the arrangements they have in place in each of those states and territories. So this is further demonstration of Australians getting vaccinated is enabling them to do more and more and more. New South Wales is hitting 80% double dose vaccination rates. Here in this city, it is turning into one of the more vaccinated cities in the world today. And that is a great achievement for Australia, and in particular those right across Greater Sydney. And it's been hard fought and hard won. And that's why I welcome the fact that this is a further sign of the national plan coming into effect and allowing Australians to start reclaiming so many of the things that have been taken from them throughout this pandemic. I also want to note that at the National Security Committee earlier this week, where we considered these matters on Tuesday, we also agreed that we would be looking at expanding the definition of immediate family to include the parents of Australian residents and citizens. And I know that will be very welcome news to Australians right across the country who are hoping to be reunited with their family members, their parents who are overseas. Now, in New South Wales' case, that means that those family members will be able to come into Sydney if they are vaccinated and not have to quarantine under the arrangements that the Premier has announced today. So that is a welcome step forward. I want to stress that for the other states and territories, and I've advised the premiers and chief ministers to this end, that this is about Australian residents and citizens first. The Commonwealth Government has made no decision to allow other visa holders, skilled visa holders, student visa holders, international visitors travelling under an ETA or other international visa arrangement, visiting visa arrangement, to come into Australia under these arrangements. They are decisions for the Commonwealth Government, as the Premier and I know, and but where we're in a position to make that decision down the track, then obviously in New South Wales they'll be able to do so if they're vaccinated without having to quarantine. So I think that should provide some sense of assurance to those in other states that all we're talking about now is Australian citizens, residents and their immediate families, which will be looking to extend to the parents of those Australian citizens and residents. So that's good news. We're making good progress. We're looking forward to hitting 70% national double dose vaccinations, and as we've particularly gone over the 80% mark as well for single dose vaccinations right around the country.
Probably the most significant today, probably the most significant announcement we're making is an end to quarantine. From 1 November, those people, returning Australians, tourists who want to come back, who want to visit Australia, who want to come into Sydney, hotel quarantine will be a thing of the past. We will require that, which will work with the Commonwealth Government, that those people coming into Australia, whether it's a tourist or returning Australian, that you will need to do a PCR test before you board the flight, and that you will need to show proof of that you're double vaccinated. So for double vaccinated people right around the world, Sydney, New South Wales is open for business. We want people back. We're leading the nation out of this pandemic. A hotel quarantine home quarantine is a thing of the past. We are opening Sydney and New South Wales to the world, and that date will come in on 1 November, and we'll continue to work closely with the Commonwealth Government to make sure protections are in place so that we keep people safe, but we rejoin the world. So this is a significant day for our state. It's not because of the government's work, it's because of every single person right across New South Wales who's gone out, made the effort to get vaccinated. These restrictions will be lifted from Monday as we hit that 80% over the course of the weekend. And to celebrate that feat,
Hello, everyone. We are here with news, really good news today. I have today Ashim Santalia that is going to help us with amazing news. We are not saying that. You already heard the Prime Minister of Australia and the Premier of New South Wales. How are you today, Ashimi?
Very good. The best that I have been with this fantastic news coming up to help our customers. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ash, I want to go direct to the point today.
Absolutely.
And there is latest news. You were with us 15 days ago, 2 weeks ago, and you were telling us like Australia is going to open, the borders will be open in November, but we're in October, and we already start to receive this amazing news. What changed from the last time that you were here with us? Can you explain what is happening with these latest announcements?
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the main thing that is changing as time progresses is the vaccination rate in Australia, and that's phenomenal. It's taken all the governments, the federal government, the state governments by surprise, and New South Wales is leading it. And they have right now crossed 90% first dose vaccinations and 80% double dose. And it seems by end of October, they're going to cross 90% double dose. So it's basically the vaccination rates, which are so high, that is basically giving confidence to all the governments to take these decisions. Hence, on Friday, the New South Wales Premier announced that from 1st of November, there won't be any quarantine at all in New South Wales. And in his excitement, he also announced that he would welcome anybody, whether it's tourists, working visa, everybody. However, that got clarified by the Prime Minister that afternoon that they are not going to allow everybody and they're only going to allow Australian citizens and Australian permanent residents. However, there's one important announcement that came from the Prime Minister is that they're going to include parents as immediate family members. So anybody who's an Australian resident or an Australian citizen will be able to get their parents back into Australia effective 1st of November. And that would also mean no quarantine for any of them. So these is basically the biggest announcements in travel over the last 18 months. The biggest announcement 18 months ago was when the border was shut down. After that, this is the biggest announcement.
So, Ash, what is going to happen with flights now? There are going to be more availability. There's going to be increase in prices. What's going to happen now? What's the situation that is going to bring the latest announcement to everyone?
Yes. So according to my discussion with most of the airlines from Friday and from today, what I've understood is basically the number of flights into Australia is not going to change in a hurry because airlines have been losing a lot of money flying into Australia over the last 2 years with all the cap restriction and everything. So they are not really in a hurry to increase the number of flights. So what they are going to do is continue with the same schedule which they have, which is kind of quite less right now compared to pre-pandemic days. At the same time, they were only able to bring like 10, 15 people in a flight, due to these caps. So the first step here would be they will just see the demand and try to bring full flights because there is no caps anymore with whatever schedule they have, So I think Emirates has 4 or 5 flights in a week into Sydney. Qatar Airways has similar. Etihad has similar. Sri Lankan Airlines have 1 flight a week. So they are just going to maintain what schedule they have and try to fill those flights before trying to increase their flights into Australia. And especially, as we know, other states in Australia are still very much under the cap restrictions, whether it's Western Australia, Queensland, and also Victoria. I think Victoria is going to be the next, which will move into the same setting as New South Wales. However, there's no clear announcement that was made by the premier in Victoria yesterday. I expect that will still take some time, maybe a couple of weeks. In the meantime, if anyone is really keen to get back, I would say just grab the seats in New South Wales and then just come to Sydney. Basically, all the flights that they can get, just grab it and then come to Sydney at least.
Perfect. Just a friendly remind to everyone. If you are connected with us on Zoom or in Facebook, please leave your question. We are going to answer during this session. That's why Ash is here today to help us to clarify all your answers or all your questions. So Ash, what about if we start with a few of the questions and then we'll discuss later more about these latest announcements.
Sure, go ahead.
One of the first is from Babin on Facebook. Babin is asking, what's happening with the flight that we have on 22nd of October? Do we still need to do quarantine when they arrive to Australia?
Absolutely. So these rules are the new rules come into picture on 1st of November. On the other hand, every single flight that's operating before that is going to operate as normal. I got a confirmation about this from Malaysia Airlines today. They wrote us a letter saying these flights that we are operating right now is going to operate as normal. If anyone wants a copy of this, just email us and we can send it to you. So basically, between now and 31st of October, nothing changes.
Okay.
And also from 1st of November, the only jurisdiction that has changed is New South Wales. There is nothing changed as of today in any other states in Australia. So Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia, and Queensland continues to remain under the same rules and regulations of quarantine and caps as has been in the last 18 months.
So it's a moment of change, but it's going to be baby steps. And the first one, doing the huge step, is New South Wales, because you will already reach the numbers that in that plan that you has shown a couple of times here in our lives of the national plan. So the thing that we discussed earlier is happening now.
Absolutely. It is happening, and it gives us all hope that things are only going to get better. But at the same time, as you know, every state in Australia has their own rules and regulations. And just because New South Wales has done it in one way, it doesn't mean that every other state is just going to follow through in the same way. They may be doing it in a similar way, which is more or less same, but it's not going to be identical. And also the timings of each state would be quite different. I've just read something today that the Queensland government has come out with some kind of a roadmap that they're going to allow quarantine-free travel from 17th of December. So that's like basically still 45 days or almost 2 months from now, and 45 or 50 days later than New South Wales, And I've heard, there's no confirmed news, but Western Australia is saying they won't allow quarantine-free travel until next year sometime,
No.
So every state jurisdiction, every premier of every state in Australia has their own power to take decisions as to what they're going to allow and how they're going to allow people into their state. However, however, one thing is very important for everybody to be clear on, that what the Prime Minister announced on Friday on the back of the announcement from New South Wales Premier is that from 1st of November, everybody will be allowed to go out of Australia from every state, because that ban of not traveling out of Australia is put by the federal government under the biosecurity laws, and that ban will be lifted by the federal government for the whole of Australia. So for going out perspective, you can go out from any city that you are staying in and living in. On the coming in perspective, it will depend on each state. And surely you can definitely return back to New South Wales and take a domestic flight into your state if your state allows to do that. But going out will be allowed at the same time. So from 1st of November, there won't be any requirement of getting any exemptions to travel out of Australia. Every single person who wants to travel out of Australia will be allowed to do that from 1st of November.
Okay. So that's a good point and a good moment to answer this question from Shashi. That is asking, what's the situation of the flights for November? And I want to make a point here because you are talking about an important point, saying it depends the situation of each state, and this is something that we had said before when we present the national plan. We already knew at that time New South Wales potentially could be the first. So can you give us clarity in the situation about flights on November in New South Wales, Victoria, and other couple of states?
Absolutely. So yes, definitely the number of flights available is the highest out of New South Wales, because airlines want to make sure their flights are fuller and not obviously operate into cities where there are going to be restrictions. So the connectivity out of New South Wales, out of Sydney, is going to increase slowly and gradually. I think the next of the rank would be Victoria. In Melbourne, the connectivity will also improve. And then the next one would be Queensland, which is Brisbane. I think Western Australia and South Australia would have very limited connectivity in and out of Australia, and very limited flights in and out of Australia, at least for the rest of this year. Maybe next year, they will see more increase of connectivity once their state governments are much more clearer as to what their state rules and regulations would be in regards to quarantine. Having said that, I know this is something that could be a little bit controversial, but I feel that because of hard times that all the airlines have gone through in the last 18 months and massive losses, we're not going to see airfares coming down to what it was pre-pandemic days. I remember pre-pandemic days, there used to be a return fare for $800, $900 to India and back. Gone are those days. I don't see that's going to happen in a hurry where we will be able to have a return fare going into India and come back. Yes, one way is possible, and that's what we're offering, one way at $899. But return fares is going to be more like above $2,000 for the rest of this year, at least.
Okay. So, Ash, Sirisha is asking an interesting question, John, because you earlier was telling us about the possibility of parents to come to Australia. So, Sirisha is asking, parents with visiting visa, I guess it could be some kind of tourist visa, are they able to come?
Yes, absolutely. So you have to apply for exemptions, and you can apply as an immediate family member that they will be exempted to travel because basically that's the rule change that has been announced by the Prime Minister, and that's coming into place from 1st of November. So after 1st of November, anybody who is an immediate family member of a citizen of Australia or a permanent resident of Australia will be given exemption to travel, and they will be allowed to travel.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Good up. How about subclass 500? Can fly to Australia subclass 500 is a student visa. What's the situation for the students after the latest announcements?
Yeah, so unfortunately, students are still in the back of the queue at the moment. It's not front of the queue. So as we all know, there are approximately 40,000 to 50,000 Australian citizens and residents who are stranded overseas. The government wants to see that cleared first, and they are going to allow them to return first. Once they start seeing those numbers reduce, then they're going to start allowing skilled and migrant visa holders and student visa holders. So I believe that in the month of November, that change is not going to happen. But potentially, if there's a lot of inflow in November and most of those people who are stranded return back, potentially from December or definitely from January, there will be allowance for students to return back.
Okay. I will stop one moment the questions for our participants today.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask you, do we have any flight available with not quarantine?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are very happy to announce and very happy to share that the first flight that's going to come from India to Sydney, which is quarantine-free flight, is going to be organized by Goa Travel. And it's already up for sale, available 1st of November. The first day itself is our flight leaving from India on Malaysia Airlines and arriving into Sydney on 2nd of November. So as always, we are in the forefront of trying to help everybody who needs to return back. And that's going to be the first flight quarantine-free allowed from India to Australia.
And what's the starting price of the flight, Ash?
So that's $1,899, which is 1/4 of the price that people have been paying on the cap under the cap arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're very happy to facilitate this as the first flight quarantine-free into Australia.
That's also more and more good news.
Absolutely.
So, should we still follow the strategy you advised a few weeks ago? Like book one way and return flights can be booked later?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would highly recommend everybody to just grab one-way flights from Australia to India now. And also, we have put a lot of one-way flights available from India to Australia. And now with this opening up and in the later times, Victoria opening up, there will be much more options available to return back on one-way tickets from India into Australia. On the other hand, if you're just going to continue waiting, then what you will find, there won't be many tickets left to go out of Australia. So what to speak of coming back? So the one-way tickets out of Australia are selling every day. And if you don't going to take that and wait for return options to be available, then you will find that slowly you will not have any options to go out of Australia, or even if you have, it's going to be very expensive. In December already, fares are one way around $2,000. So as time going by, we like every single traveler is going to compete with other travelers. There are 750,000 Indians living in Australia, and 99% of them haven't traveled in the last 2 years. So, and there's only according to my analysis, maybe approximately between now and Christmas, roughly around 10,000 tickets available to go. So 10,000 people would get that opportunity compared to 750,000 Indians who are, and that's just Indians. There are so many other people who want to travel as well. So yeah, it's competition is huge in terms of who wants to grab a seat.
That's really important. And there is a question here that I want you to give us some kind of clarity, because this is a really important question.
Sure.
Actually. So, for example, the same person that was asking about the return strategy is asking flights like sorry, airlines like Qantas, Singapore Airlines, they have some kind of to from flights. What's the difference to book with them and go to travel? Why a person should book with go to travel instead at the moment going to those websites? Do we have some kind of agreements or good prices at the moment, or what is the opportunity that they can find with Gaura Travel?
Okay. First of all, I don't think that there is any flights available with Qantas to India. You can check. Qantas has flights available to London. It's got some flights available to Los Angeles and some other parts of the world. But at the moment, there's no flights available with Qantas to India. And also with Singapore Airlines, there are no flights available to India in the month of November and December because Indian borders are still restricted. They have bubble agreements, air bubble agreements with certain countries in the world, which has reciprocal flights going in and out of India. And there are countries like UAE, there's countries like Qatar, there's countries like Sri Lanka. But Singapore and Malaysia and Thailand, these three countries are not having any air bubble agreement with India. And because of this, any flights from these three countries are still not allowed into India, which means there are no flights available on Singapore Airlines to go to India for November and December. They have some flights available for January in the anticipation that between now and December, India will open up and allow all the flights to come in. But right now, in October, November, and December, there are no Singapore Airlines or Qantas flights available on their websites or on any websites online to book any ticket to India. So that's my answer to your question about them. In regards to what we are offering, so yeah, we are offering lots and lots of options. We have more than 5,000 products available on our website now with multiple dates and multiple airlines. These are all specially negotiated dates and flights and rates with various airlines on behalf of our customers. And most likely, if you look at what we are offering and compare it with other online websites or other travel agents or airlines, I think you will find that you will pay more if you book on other websites. On top of that, we are providing you a 24/7 back customer service, and we have been available all throughout this pandemic for the last 2 years. So you can really rely on us and trust us compared to, I don't know, if you're just going to book on a website online and what's going to happen after that. So these are my points in terms of why you should be trusting and booking with us compared to anybody else. And as you can see, we have reunited 15,000 families in the last 18 months, So we know what we're doing. And I think we would urge everybody to look at our Facebook page, look at our history, and then make your own decision.
That's really good advice. Because these days it's really important to see where you travel because people need real flights, real
Absolutely.
companies operating because the situation and the flights, it's important to have a good deal with airlines and that kind of stuff because not everyone has the availability to sell what we have at the moment.
Absolutely.
So, Ash, Barun is asking, can I apply for 408 visa? This is the temporary visa, temporary activity visa. Will I get the visa to get into New South Wales? So he got the visa. This is a temporary activity visa. Can he come to New South Wales?
Not at the moment. So as I mentioned already and as we heard earlier, at the moment, Australian government is only allowing permanent residents and Australian citizens and their family members to come in. If you think your circumstances is unique and you would like to be exempted from their requirements, you can always apply for exemptions to come in. The requirement to apply for exemptions for outbound, the flights from here to anywhere in the world is going to be redundant from 1st of November. But to come in, the exemption system is going to continue on for non-residents and non-citizens. So if you feel that there are circumstances which you feel is strong that the Australian government should allow you to come in, you're most welcome to apply for exemption, and if they grant you the exemption, then you can travel.
Perfect. As we have been talking about New South Wales, so I want to raise a point. What's the situation in Victoria? Victoria start to open next Thursday. How is going this to affect Victoria? And at some point, is Victoria to have similar configuration like New South Wales?
So yeah, I like how you use the word similar because it's not going to be same. As we know, Victoria is a different state than New South Wales. It's also run by a different political party. So Victoria is run by Labour government as well as New South Wales is run by Liberal government. So there will be differences. It's not going to be exactly the same. What I heard yesterday from Premier Daniel Andrews, and I heard his press conference yesterday, is that he's looking forward for our state to reach 70% double dose, which should happen this week sometime. And that's why, as we know, by after end of Thursday, there won't be any lockdown in Melbourne. And then between then and Melbourne Cup Day is most likely we're going to reach 80%. So I think there won't be any announcements or clarity until we reach 80%. So that's still some time away, which is basically around 2 weeks from now. In the meantime, there is so many seats and flights available into New South Wales, which are being into Sydney, which is being grabbed by people who want to return home. But in terms of Victoria, I think it's on the similar path, and it was encouraging to hear yesterday the Premier saying that he will also integrate well with New South Wales. So the Victoria and New South Wales state are going to work together and will allow people to move from each other's states much more freely than other states. So I look forward to more announcements from Victorian government, I think around about the 1st or 2nd of November, when we reach to the 80% double vaccination mark. And I think it's going to follow a similar path, as you said, which means there is no hotel quarantine that will be required. But whether there will be some form of home quarantine or not is unclear. And we will need to wait to see that announcement as to what will come out of it.
Okay, so different situation, different states. We have to wait for the announcement of each state.
Absolutely.
To see how is the situation going to be there. Keep sharing your questions on Facebook. We are going to keep answering at this moment your questions. So I think you already answered this. What about the students who want to return to Australia from India? They are not allowed.
Not at the moment, not at the moment, but most likely in December or January, that will be possible.
So there is something important that we watched in the video from the Prime Minister.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying Australians first, citizens first, permanent residents first, and then Australia is going to be more open to other type of visas. Is that
absolutely? Look, we're a nation of so many migrants and people from all sorts of cultures. So Australia is not going to be closed forever, and it's not going to be closed for students and other skilled individuals forever. I think they just want to give priorities to obviously Australian citizens and permanent residents. Once that backlog is clear, the next in the line would be skilled migrants and students. That's very, very clear that that's going to happen.
no?
So it's just a matter of time. I request you all who are in that situation to be a bit more patient. It's going to happen. If we waited for so long, we just have to wait for a little longer, and it's going to happen.
Okay. So even after quarantine-free travel, will the seating capacity be limited in flights like how it is now, or they are going to open more seats?
Yeah, no, once the cap's gone, which is what's happened in New South Wales and Sydney, every flight can bring in as the full flight. So there is no caps restriction, there is no capacity restriction on any flight into Sydney from 1st of November.
Okay. How long does it take to get an exemption from Home Affairs?
I don't think that there is a fixed formula, but usually I've heard that once you apply, you should hear back within a week.
Okay, that's pretty good timing.
Yeah.
It is safe to book with Thai given their bankruptcy.
I think at this moment we have to be careful as to what their next steps are. Having said that, they're a government organization, and what I've heard is the government is actually bailing them out and supporting them to resurrect. So it's early days, but eventually I think they will rise up from this challenge, and it was a very good airline in the past, and it's a very big important airline for the whole country as a Thailand, because Thailand gets over 40 million tourists every year. So tourism is really important for Thailand. So I believe Thai Airways will be resurrected in some shape or form, but at the same time, I think it's early days. We don't know right now whether it's really safe or not. And they don't have many flights into Australia yet. So I think we can wait and watch some more.
Okay, so it's a matter of waiting because
Correct.
not all of the airlines are at the moment active as they used to.
Absolutely. Well, in fact, to answer you the question, the number of flights and seats available in and out of Australia is reduced by 90% from what it was pre-pandemic days. And that's because the traffic and the people who are traveling has also reduced 90 or more, even more percentage than what it was previous to the pandemic. Now, the thing is, yes, I know the government has made an announcement that from 1st of November, everybody can travel. It doesn't mean that the airlines are just going to stop all of the routes and all of the countries that they are flying to and then bring all their planes into Australia just because Australia is changing their routes, They have their plan, and they have been utilizing all their aircrafts in so many other parts of the world. They're not just going to stop it in one day and just stop all that. It takes a long time to plan all these things, and they must have already have schedules for those particular destinations for the future, and they must have already sold those tickets. So they're not just going to cancel all of that and then bring all their planes into Australia in a hurry or immediately, So it will take some time. I think there will be more flights and seats available to go in and out of Australia from January next year because airlines are going to see and watch for some more stability. But I think for the next 2-3 months, it's not going to be like a big rush of various airlines starting many, many more flights.
Yeah. So, Ash, in their background, can New Zealand passport holder child can come from India, parents in Australia traveling back with Australian resident uncle? Really tricky question.
Yeah, it is. It is. How? I think, look, I'm not going to answer that because it's very, very tricky and it's very specific. What I recommend is you just write to Home Affairs, and they are the best persons to reply to that because they will give you an exact answer which will matter. I think whatever I say is going to be a little bit of on a 50-50 side. Whatever I say could be right or wrong in this matter. So rather than giving you the incorrect information, I would say you could just write to the Home Affairs, and they would confirm you exactly what can and can't be done in that situation.
Okay, you have questions, please keep typing your question on Facebook or Zoom. We will be happy to answer them. And regarding the question that you just answered, when our experts, Anuja and Shami, has come earlier to talk about travel exemptions, they always advise to us is provide the most information that you have, make your case stronger, and don't resign until you get approval.
Absolutely. So keep trying again. I think as we know that right now, the borders are going to open more from 1st November. So the chances are, even now, although the formality has to be followed, the system has to be followed, but it seems like the government would be more willing to give you exemptions, knowing that anyways they are going to make this system of getting exemptions redundant. So knowing that in the future they won't be needing anybody to apply for this, anybody who applies right now, they have to go through the motions and the formality, but the chances are much more higher to get approved because we already know down the line there won't be any requirement of this.
Yeah, that's true. So now, can parents of Australian citizens can come to Australia on the resident immediate family members on visitor visa and when? I think you already mentioned.
Yeah, you can from 1st of November. You still have to apply for exemptions and most likely you will be approved. And once you're approved, you can travel. Or, I mean, your parents can travel.
That's perfect. So, Ash, what about other states like Brisbane and Adelaide? Do we have some?
So yeah, I saw some news about that today. Brisbane has announced that they are going to open their borders and allow quarantine-free travel from 17th of November. And that's been official. They say that they're going to allow that either 17th of November or earlier. So if they reach their 80% double vaccination earlier than 17th of November, then they will allow it earlier. But even if it doesn't reach 80% by 17th of November, 17th of December, my apologies, then they are going to allow international travel quarantine-free from 17th of December. So it's still quite a while from now, but they have made this announcement today.
That's really, really good. One of the latest questions that I have for you, Ash, is at the moment, and in the previous meetings with you, some people was asking about return flights.
Mm-hmm.
So does Gara Travel has, apart from the strategy of return tickets, do we have some kind of return flights at the moment available?
Yes, we have made some available, but that's departing in January and returning in February or end of January. So we are starting to release some flights for return, but that's going to be more applicable from January. We will start to try and add more flights for December return as well. Just keep checking our website in the next few days. But for October and November, mostly it will be one-way flights.
Perfect. So that's all the questions that we had for today. I think has been pretty clear about how the borders are getting open slightly. Depends on the time and the achievement of the numbers of the vaccination on each state.
Absolutely.
But sooner we will have more and more news, and we will invite you again to talk about how to open the borders in Victoria and Queensland and other states.
Yeah, look, I don't think I would have anything to do with deciding how the borders will be open, but I would love to share the news once it is decided by the Premier and the Prime Minister, and we can uncover what are the rules and how we can all benefit from those rules once it becomes more clearer. We look forward to sharing that with our customers.
Okay, thank you very much once again, Ash.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
And see you next Monday with another session, another topic about traveling between Australia and India. And we invited all of you to keep an eye on our website where we try to post the latest news, or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. If you missed this session, you arrived late and you have questions, you didn't have time to send your question, we invite you also to check our YouTube channel, Gaura Travel on YouTube, and we are posting these videos on our YouTube channel. So see you next Monday, and thanks for chat with us every Monday.
Thank you.